Vino, we put a poll up before the show started, and that poll asked, "Do holes exist?" Do you have thoughts on this?
Yeah, I mean, holes exist in so much as we've described holes, right? You don't have to have something you can put in a jar, although I do suspect you could put a hole in a jar, that to describe or to have something exist. It's conceptual, right? Um, and obviously, it's pretty much impossible to empty the absence of something. So you could describe a hole in the ground as a depression in the ground that also has air in it, if you prefer. I don't think some people think you have to have a hole straight through something. I think just a depression is considered a hole.
Interesting. So do you believe then that for something to exist, it must have some physical properties or not?
No, definitely not. An idea can exist, right? I mean, an idea is stored within physical properties, but that also exists independent of those physical properties, like as an emergent quality that can exist in different forms in different people's brains or in a computer or whatever. It's still the same sort of conceptual existence, don't you think?
So I guess so what you're saying is that everything that exists has to have a concrete material foundation.
Yeah, but it's like a number, right? It's like what's the similarities between fruits, vegetables, rocks that all have three of them, right? You take out everything that's not dissimilar, and you're left with a number. Um, it's the same thing with
I mean,
ideas stored in different media.
you could probably find some other similarities, like they're all made of atoms.
Okay, true. I'm sure you could, but if we take the net result of the universe and we have three of each of those things, then presumably there would be no similarities and only differences between everything. I would suspect. I would
I'm
s-
not sure I
I
tracked
would
you on
think.
that one.
Okay, well that's fine. What is your position on holes?
So I think that this question has made me reevaluate what I mean by something existing.
Mm,
Which I mean, I think that the things that the holes are made of, or the material that it's founded in, exist, formally.
hmm
Um, but the whole doesn't exist proper, at least not in the same way. So, like, I would not say that a whole exists in the same way that um, this glass exists, right?
Yeah, right. Those are different types of existing, but they still both exist.
Well, so this is the question, right? I think this is a problem that we encounter a lot is what do people mean when they say exist? I think this actually
Ah,
causes a lot of confusion.
I see how this could be used to say like, oh, I saw a ghost, and that is whether that's in my head or in reality, it still exists.
Exactly.
Mm, okay, I could see that. It just skeeves me out a little bit, the fact that we're taking what are basically descriptive properties and saying they don't exist. Like, does a does a nostril exist, or like the nose hole exist? Yeah, I mean, it does because I can look at it and point at it and say that's there, and that's just a description of the shape.
But so then you ask, does it exist independent of a nose?
um,
If you had a little nostril shaped hole in your arm, would you call that a nostril if it wasn't attached to a
um,
nose?
okay, let me ask you this: if I took a picture of a nose and then got rid of the nose, would the nose hole still exist?
Well, I never thought the nose hole existed in the first place.
Fair enough. Okay, I think that would be the shared medium. That they're in different mediums, but conceptually it still exists, right? Because you can point at it or in physical space or in the photograph and say there it is.
Yeah.
And that's different from a ghost
Fair
because you can
enough. I
point at it.
mean, so what ontologists say is they classify things into either concreta or abstracta, like concrete things or abstract things. And I think this is the distinction that we're trying to make. And so things that are conceptual, like holes and numbers, are abstract, and they're like they're sort of formed from our pattern recognition and seeing a lot of like patterns in the world, whereas the concreta are things that can interact with each other independent of an observer, sort of thing.
Right. So, like, what happens if two holes smash into one another?
Right. This is a good question.
I guess nothing. Okay, fine. I yield.
But hey, if you have an opinion about whether holes exist or anything else for that matter, give us a call.